Mayim Bialik. Great to have you with us. So fun to see your success. And I mean, my goodness, you didn't just play a scientist in The Big Bang Theory. You are a scientist.
Most people know Mayim Bialik as the brilliant scientist from The Big Bang Theory. Others remember her as the actress who became one of television's most recognizable faces. Some know her as the woman who stepped into one of the most difficult jobs in television after the passing of Alex Trebek. But recently, people have been talking about her for a completely different reason. Not because of a television role, not because of a controversy, and not because of a career move. Instead, it was because of something deeply personal she decided to share with the world. For years, Mayim Bialik built a reputation unlike almost anyone else in Hollywood. She wasn't just another celebrity giving opinions. She was someone with real scientific credentials, someone who earned a doctorate in neuroscience, someone who spent years studying how the human brain works. That background made people trust her. It also made what happened next far more surprising. When Mayim revealed details about a difficult medical experience she had recently endured, thousands of people stopped scrolling and paid attention. Not because her story was shocking, but because it was honest. In a world filled with success stories and carefully managed public images, she shared a situation where things didn't go as planned. And that moment became another chapter in one of the most unusual journeys in Hollywood. Because the truth is, Mayim Bialik has never followed the path people expected her to take. Long before she became famous, she was already different. As a child growing up in California, she showed a level of curiosity that stood out. While many young actors dreamed only about becoming stars, Mayim was fascinated by learning. She loved reading, asking questions, and understanding how things worked. That curiosity followed her into acting. By the time she was a teenager, she had landed the lead role in Blossom, a sitcom that became incredibly popular during the early 1990s. Suddenly, millions of people knew her name. She was appearing on television every week and enjoying a level of success most young performers only dream about. For many child stars, that kind of attention becomes the center of their world. But not for Mayim. Even while working in television, she never stopped taking education seriously. She understood that fame could disappear quickly, but knowledge would stay with her forever. As she grew older, she faced a decision that would surprise many people. She had opportunities that most students would celebrate. Prestigious universities wanted her. Doors were opening everywhere. Yet instead of following the path everyone expected, she chose to stay close to home and attend UCLA. It wasn't a decision driven by status. It was a decision driven by values. Family mattered to her. Education mattered to her. And she believed she could build a life that balanced both. That choice revealed something important about her character. Throughout her life, she would repeatedly choose the path that felt right to her, even when other people disagreed. At UCLA, she didn't treat school as a backup plan. She committed herself fully. Years of studying eventually led to something few Hollywood actors could claim: a doctorate in neuroscience. Suddenly, Mayim Bialik wasn't just an actress playing smart characters on television. She was a real scientist. And then life delivered one of the strangest coincidences imaginable. Years later, when she joined The Big Bang Theory as Amy Farrah Fowler, she found herself playing a neuroscientist on one of the most successful television shows in the world. Audiences loved it. There was something fascinating about watching a real neuroscientist portray a scientist on screen. The role fit her naturally. Her chemistry with the cast worked perfectly, and before long she became one of the most beloved characters on the series. From the outside, it looked like everything was falling perfectly into place. She had success. She had respect. She had a career that seemed stronger than ever. But public success often comes with a hidden cost. The larger your platform becomes, the more people analyze every word you say. And eventually, Mayim discovered that reality firsthand. As her popularity grew, she became increasingly open about subjects she cared deeply about. Parenting was one of them. She shared her views through interviews, books, and public discussions. Some people appreciated her honesty. Others strongly disagreed. The debates became intense. What started as conversations about parenting philosophies often turned into arguments about her character, her intelligence, and her judgment. It was one of the first times she experienced how quickly public opinion could shift. People who once praised her intelligence sometimes criticized her for expressing it. And unfortunately, this would not be the last time. Around the same period, she was also dealing with major personal changes. Her marriage ended after many years together. Divorce is difficult for anyone, but experiencing it while living in the public eye adds another layer of pressure entirely. While continuing to work, raise her children, and maintain a demanding schedule, she was also navigating one of the most painful transitions of her life. Many people never saw that struggle. They saw the actress. They saw the public figure. They didn't always see the human being behind those roles. Then came one of the most controversial moments of her career. During a period when important conversations were taking place across Hollywood, Mayim wrote an essay sharing her thoughts and experiences. Her intentions may have been sincere, but many readers interpreted parts of her message differently than she intended. The backlash was immediate. Social media exploded. Articles were written. Commentators debated her words for weeks. Almost overnight, she found herself at the center of a controversy she never expected. For someone who had spent years building credibility and trust, the experience was devastating. She apologized. She clarified her position. She explained what she meant. But sometimes public controversies leave a mark that doesn't disappear quickly. Years later, people would still reference that moment whenever her name appeared in headlines. It became a reminder of how fragile public reputation can be. You can spend decades building it, and one misunderstanding can change everything. Yet despite the criticism, Mayim kept moving forward. She continued working, continued learning, continued speaking about topics that mattered to her. Then another unexpected opportunity arrived. Jeopardy! Following the passing of the legendary Alex Trebek, producers faced an impossible challenge. How do you replace someone who became an institution? There was no easy answer. Eventually, Mayim Bialik became one of the people selected to help carry the show forward. For many viewers, it seemed like a natural fit. She was intelligent, well-spoken, respected. But not everyone agreed. Almost immediately, criticism began. Some viewers questioned the decision before she even hosted an episode. Every appearance was examined. Every mistake was highlighted. Every comparison to Alex Trebek felt impossible to escape. Hosting a beloved game show is very different from acting. And learning under constant public scrutiny is one of the hardest ways imaginable to develop new skills. Still, she continued. Week after week, month after month, trying to grow into a role that millions of people had strong opinions about. Then another challenge arrived. The writers' strike. As labor disputes affected Hollywood, Mayim made a decision based on her personal principles. She chose not to cross picket lines. It was a choice she believed in. But choices often come with consequences. Eventually, her time as a Jeopardy host came to an end. For many people watching from the outside, it looked like another setback in a career that had already experienced more than its share of public challenges. Yet something interesting happened afterward. Instead of desperately searching for another television job, Mayim began focusing on projects she controlled herself. Her podcast grew. Her audience expanded. She started having deeper conversations about mental health, science, personal growth, and emotional resilience. People responded. Because they weren't just hearing from an actress anymore. They were hearing from someone willing to discuss difficult experiences honestly. She talked about anxiety, stress, parenting, relationships, personal growth, topics that many public figures avoid. And that honesty helped her connect with people in a completely new way. Over time, she also explored filmmaking and creative projects outside traditional television. Rather than depending entirely on Hollywood executives, she started building something more independent. Something that belonged to her. That shift became one of the most important transformations of her career. Because success was no longer measured only by ratings or contracts. It was measured by purpose. Then came the health experience that recently captured so much attention. After consulting medical professionals, Mayim decided to try a treatment that had become increasingly common across the country. The recommendation came from experts she trusted. The decision seemed reasonable. But the results were not what she expected. According to her own account, She experienced severe side effects that dramatically affected her daily life. The experience was painful, frustrating, and deeply disappointing. Yet what made her story resonate wasn't the medical details themselves. It was her willingness to talk about them. She wasn't attacking science. She wasn't rejecting medicine. She wasn't claiming that everyone would have the same experience. Instead, she was pointing out something simple. Sometimes treatments help people. Sometimes they don't. And those difficult experiences deserve to be part of the conversation too. For someone with her scientific background, that perspective carried weight. She understood that medicine works because people continue asking questions, collecting information, and learning from every outcome, not just the successful ones. That honesty struck a chord with many readers. Because in today's world, people are often pressured to present perfect versions of their lives. Perfect careers. Perfect health. Perfect decisions. Mayim's story was the opposite. It was messy, complicated, human. And maybe that's why people connected with it. Looking back at her journey, a pattern becomes clear. The same quality that created many of her challenges also created many of her strengths. She speaks her mind. She shares what she believes. She takes positions that reflect her values, even when they aren't popular. Sometimes that approach creates controversy. Sometimes it creates criticism. Sometimes it costs opportunities. But it also creates authenticity. And authenticity is increasingly rare. Whether discussing parenting, mental health, career setbacks, or personal struggles, she has shown a willingness to be transparent about experiences many people would rather keep hidden. That doesn't mean everyone agrees with her. Far from it. But agreement isn't always what creates connection. Sometimes connection comes from honesty. Today, Mayim Bialik's life looks very different from the one people imagined years ago. She's no longer simply the child star from Blossom. She's no longer only the scientist from the Big Bang Theory. She's no longer defined by Jeopardy. Instead, she has become something more complex. A public figure who has experienced success, criticism, reinvention, and personal transformation. Someone who has repeatedly rebuilt herself when circumstances changed. And perhaps that's the most remarkable part of her story. Not the awards. Not the television shows. Not the headlines. But the fact that after every setback, she continued moving forward. Learning. Adapting. Growing. Because life rarely follows the script we expect. And sometimes the people who leave the strongest impression are the ones who refuse to stop writing new chapters. Mayim Bialik's story is still being written. And if her journey has proven anything, it's that the next chapter will probably be just as surprising as everything that came before it.